On this week's show, discussing Groundbreak 2023 with Wyatt Jenkins from Procore. Hey, no news this week, so tune in. All right, Wyatt Jenkins, it seems like a year ago we were here before, weren't we?
Jeff, it's good to see you again.
Man, it is so great to sit down with you. I can't believe it's been a year since we did this and since Groundbreak was last year.
Yeah, and we've had an incredibly productive year. We have so much to talk about at Groundbreak that I'm still working out in my head how we're going to land all these planes and get all these concepts communicated well, because we've got deals coming in, we've got new products that are just about to go GA or beta, and it's a little nerve-wracking, honestly, because I have this story in my head about all the things we want to communicate to everybody, and then underneath the hood, I'm like, oh gosh, that one is high risk. Oh, that one might make it on time. Oh, that deal may or may not close. So it's just that's the moment you find me in, is this chaotic moment of seeing if we can land all these planes on the tarmac in time for Groundbreak. But in all scenarios, I think we've got just really amazing, delightful messages for everybody about how we're moving the platform forward and how we're going to move construction forward.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to dive into it. We're going to have a whole lot of fun, because I think you're right. And not like it hasn't been a pretty busy year on the tech front in general. So that's going to play into what we're going to talk about. So we will be back with Wyatt in just a second. You guys know how this goes. We got to pause for the cause.
Right now, the anticipation is very high going into the conference. So Fred is participating with us again this year at Groundbreak, which is Procore's annual user conference in Chicago, September 19th and 20th. We're including Fred in a panel discussion, a very well-rounded panel of industry and other professionals who will weigh in. We're going to be having CIASP at Groundbreak themselves in our exhibition hall. At the center of all the exhibitors will be the Culture Lounge, which will be 100% dedicated to cultural initiatives that help businesses transform. So our Procore Zone Culture team will be there to present on Culture Academy, some other initiatives they have. CIASP will be in the lounge. So we're going to try to get everyone to come to that space to not only help raise money for CIASP, but also provide their perspective so we get a snapshot of the industry in time. Fred will be doing a fireside chat with Michael Phelps. And Michael Phelps, we're so grateful to have him and so glad to have Fred interviewing him. And Fred will be able to, at that point, do a milestone share of how much money has been raised at the event, and then finish that off with a really great conversation with Michael Phelps, taking this conversation, again, outside of the construction lens and maybe just expanding it based on Michael's own story and his own work. So we're excited for this to take place.
Hey, check us out on YouTube. We're back. YouTube.com/@the ConTech crew. Subscribe, get the shorts, tune in, don't be left out. At the ConTech crew, we focus on technology that solves industry problems, and we've always believed in our sponsors. So much so that I went to work for one of them. So today, I want to talk to you about Join. Every construction project is a unique prototype, and it's actually shaped by thousands of decisions that impact the owner's business case, design, and the budget. Today, the communication driving these decisions is disjointed across all the stakeholders. Work happens in email, Excel, estimating, resulting in delays, waiting for decisions, waiting for access to information, and sometimes that information is outdated and incomplete. Managing the expectations of the team and keeping the project moving forward is a constant challenge, and a lot of times drives skepticism amongst the contributors. Join empowers general contractors to build with confidence and maximize the potential of every project by connecting these owners through new workflows that fit into your existing processes. We bring design teams and trade partners into a single platform. There's transparency and collaboration in the decision-making, which builds trusts and sets projects up for success. You might be asking yourself, do you need another tool? Well, let me tell you, Join fits in seamlessly with your processes and your other tools. In fact, we're here to help those other tools. Regardless of your estimating system or your project management process, Join will be a valuable added resource without disrupting those other systems and your teams. So listen, put your spreadsheets on ice and leave your email behind for the decision-making platform for the built environment. Learn more at join.build. All right, we're back with Wyatt Jenkins, Chief Product Officer for Procore, and we're here to talk about Groundbreak. And I'm just going to get this out of the way right away, Wyatt. You have a really high bar set from last year. Well, I socialized it. I talked around. I asked around at the end of the year, like we always do, what was the show of the year? And well, the show of the year was Groundbreak. So you set the bar pretty high. So, are you even coming close this year? What are we expecting, man?
Come close. I mean, I think we'll be as good or better, and look, at the end of the day, our focus on this industry is, it's all we do, right? So if you talk to me or you talk to Tui or you talk to Steve, any of the folks, in the leadership at Procore, we just live and breathe construction. And so there's nothing else to distract us. And so when you come to Groundbreak, I think people feel that. I think they feel like, hey, this is a place that if you're a builder, that you go to Groundbreak and you're like, oh yeah, these are my people. Like this are, half of Procore, our staff internally, were on job sites. And so you just, I think I myself, I think it's worth reminding everybody here, that was my first Groundbreak last year. Even though I've been at Procore a few years because I joined during COVID in 2020. I joined Procore in March 2020 when things were getting like weirder by the day. And so Groundbreak last year was my first in-person Groundbreak. And I walked away just like, I was so impressed with the level of passion and excitement from our customers and our partners. They were just like so excited to be in person again, so excited to be talking about all the ways we can innovate, in the field. It was great. So I came away like, how can we do better? How can we make the industry better? How can we grow together? And so it impressed upon me just how important it is, the work we're doing, and how great it is to work with this set of people. Because when you work with people that build, there's a salt of the earth thing going on that is just delightful.
It is, and that's the feel, right? Because I go to a lot of the shows, and we're, at Join, we're a partner in a lot of them, and so the experience has changed over the years for me. And I've been an attendee, and I've been a speaker, and Groundbreak last year really felt like everybody coming together. Like the enthusiasm, the push, the concentration on not whose it was, but that we were moving it forward, that the industry was taking those steps. And, I remember sitting in talks on just about everything, and the level of passion and intelligence around kind of the reality of where we are and the reality of where construction is going to go was palatable. So, it made me excited, made me want to do this again with you. So, you let a lot of cats out of the bag last year. I know I got you in a little bit of trouble. So let's try it again and get you in a little bit more trouble this year. And what do we have in store? What are we talking about? What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the worst at this. Like, I'm always given this list of don't talk about, and then I talk about it. I promise to have a really short memory on this. Like, don't mention that, Wyatt. Save that for Groundbreak. That I fail at that every time, and I always get my knuckles wrapped by the PR team. But I think there's a few big topics, and maybe I'll hit them all real quick, and then we'll dive in. But one big area that we're going to announce at Groundbreak is about how we connect across companies, and we call this Procore connectability. And there's a whole iceberg of work that we're doing under this concept of connectability, and that's an area we're going to innovate a lot on and show you a bunch of new great work. The second area we're going to innovate a lot on is pre-construction. We've been investing heavily in pre-con, and things continue to get better and more interesting. The third area that we've been investing heavily in is artificial intelligence. We can pull that thread, inclusive of large language models, which between now and the last time we talked, like the world has shifted. Like it's a movement at this point. And then the last, area that's a major announcement that we're going to make is around financials and money movement and payment. So those are sort of our four big buckets and under each of those, I have multiple announcements and a lot to talk about. But all of these, I believe, are going to move all of us forward in the industry. I think if we pause on connectability,
I'd say that's where I want to start, because it's there's Procore's gone through its natural progression, right? It's not a startup. It's been around for a while, but it's been thoughtfully moving forward. So I want to hear what does this connectability really mean?
Yeah, and I'll put it in the words of a customer, because I always think that's like a better way to operate as a product leader. The other day we had one of our customers, XL Construction, it's been with us for over a decade, join us on campus and talk to us about the roadmap, and we showed them and they showed us, and we talked about their business and how it's going. And there was a section that we asked them to prepare before the meeting. We said, hey, what is Procore to you and to your business? Like, what are we supposed to do? What is in the product framework, we often ask customers, like, what's our job to be done? What job do you want us here for? And the president of XL Construction, he said, Wyatt, your Procore is here to help us collaborate with our network of partners, architects, owners, trade partners. That's your job. And so we expect you to do that job well. So, the way that just reminds me all the time that a lot of technology and construction has been built like a box software. Like, oh, you have a problem? Here is a technology solution to your problem. Here it is for $9.99. That's the way a lot of our tech works in construction. I can literally go through all of it, and a lot of it's built that way. But then when I walk onto a job site, Jeff, it very quickly, or when you look at the real world, you go, oh, actually, the way construction is architected is a network. And in that network, general contractors are like a super node in a network of people that are trying to come together to build something. And so this has been a big part of our mission. TUI talks about connecting everybody on a global platform. And so it's there in the mission, it's there in the blood, it's there in what we want to do at Procore. And now it's coming to fruition in the architecture. Procore is more and more becoming a network. And there's a lot of ways that we're doing that. So one way we're doing it, everybody knows about the double data entry problem when multiple companies work together. Yeah. And so we're solving that problem. And so now the way Procore is going to work with Procore Connectability is everyone will stay in their own account, and they will be able to collaborate on any construction project through permissions. And so you can think about Procore of the future being a permissions-based network product. So, whether it's an RFI or a submittal, or you're responding to a bid or any of that, you're going to do that from your own account, and you'll be able to share data back and forth across accounts via permissions. One big proof point of this is we are announcing connected drawings at Groundbreak, and so that's going into open beta, and anybody can try it. And basically, when you if you're a new tradesperson, for example, and you're coming onto the job site, you'll get a drawing shared with you in your own account, your own version of Procore. And anytime there's an update to that drawing, because there's a change that happens on a job site, you're already subscribed to it. And so it just auto pushes all of those to your own account, which is, today what happens is a poor trade person might have to log out of Procore, log into the general contractor's account, download drawings, go back and log in. So that problem no longer exists effectively. We've solved that problem. And we have the same connectability solution that we're designing for RFIs and submittals. next, daily logs. Like it'll just be like a rolling thunder across the next, 12 months of applying this cross company connectability to a bunch of the different work processes within Procore.
I mean,
And the goal of which everybody just stays in their own account and they all partner together via permissions.
Well, look, that is a huge move forward because, I've been around the business for a really long time and watched, one of the only complaints we've had over the time was Procore not really talking to Procore and not, maintaining multiple instances. And when you think about the number of people on any one given workflow on a job site, we were creating triple and quadruple data, and trying to really shoehorn things back and forth to each other. So, just in the drawings, because, what usually happened is I logged into your Procore, downloaded the recent drawings from whatever day I remembered to do that. And then I worked off on my own and never updated yours and never got your updates. And then I was in the field and I was installing something where I shouldn't. And I only found that out when somebody was, walking the site and finding it. So huge set of like functional issues gone. And then a huge, it's a leap forward for you guys. That's something, sitting in the cheap seats for as long as I have, I've known architecturally that there was a lot to be done. So to see you guys take that bite, that's huge.
You know what I love about it, Jeff, is every interaction that is either one-to-one or one-to-many, we now think through all sides of that interaction. We're like, what's the experience of creating the RFI? What's the experience of answering the RFI in the other account? We are now thinking holistically about all parties, every interaction of every single workflow in the platform that has multiple parties in it. And we're doing it all through the same set of permissions that are governed by the project and by the contractual agreements within the project. So people don't have to worry about data getting shared unnecessarily. It is still governed by the same permission systems, but it's a huge leap forward for everybody. It's just going to make anybody who uses Procore really glad, because today it can actually be a net negative. The other thing I would say that's a huge step forward, Jeff, is we're focused heavily on the experience of, for example, the trades and what they experience with Procore. They're the future of Procore, and some of it we're going to show at Groundbreak. A trades person will walk onto a job site, pull up their mobile app, have a custom experience for that job site that already has their drawings on it, that already has their activity feed for the day on it, that has everything they need, so they can walk onto the job site, see the address at the top, and know this is the stuff I got to get done. And so, a general contractor can be like, I know I have a competitive edge if I'm running a Procore project, because the trades are like, cool, I already know how to use it. I already have my own account, and I already know how to interact with all the objects in Procore from my account. And so that's the step, that's the leap we're making this year, and why it's one of the most important, one of the most important announcements for Groundbreak. I talked to a lot of general contractors about labor shortage issues, and this problem is not going away. And I got to tell you that there's a younger generation coming up through the trades, and they just expect this behavior. They expect to go on a job site, be tech enabled, be able to access everything they got to do through their mobile app, and they expect it to be easy so they can get to work. And that's a big chunk of this connectability story.
That's their experience in their life of their own apps, right? It's not, they don't have to do and have multiple instances and log out and log in and move. That's just not their native experience. It's not what they're going to expect. It's not what they have expected. So we're going to see that change. And I love the project level permissions, man. That is something that I think people don't understand, that unlike regular, or, I don't want to call it commercial software, but more user-based software, user-based foundational software, there's just permissions, right? Or in some other verticals, it's just a set of permissions. In our world, the contract concept drives a lot of the permissions, which means you've got to be able to adapt to that. I mean, it's something at Join we had to do, and it's core to the way we do our permissions on the project level. And to see you guys come in as a network that's going to provision that, it really shows, again, a little bit of the care that goes into you're creating connective tissue, but you're understanding how that connective tissue actually works and how to apply it.
Yeah, it's a very vertical specific thing. You know, where this really became a challenge. We are announcing another big announcement in this realm of connectability is our Conversations product, which is a messaging product. And of course, the first version of Conversations works within a company. And then the next version of Conversations works across companies. And so, you know, you could be on your mobile device and you can just tap a message cross company. And of course, we're opening up very fluid conversations on a job site that need some contractual boundaries. And so it was really important for us to get that permissions model right before we took a leap like this. Because obviously, you need to know who else is in the conversation and what the agreements are in place before you just go talking about a significant change. And without that basic permissions model that like governs all this, you can really get into trouble quickly. But I got to tell you, I've never been more excited about a product than Conversations because, again, it's one of those things that I can observe on a job site in the real world. You know, if you rewind, everybody on a job site had the Nextel thing on their shoulder, right? And you walk on a job site and you would click, and then you would have a conversation, an organic conversation with another person. Then tech came in and it forced us to write emails and like fill out forms. And to be very honest, those are not organic methods. That's not actually the way we built stuff 30 years ago, you know, in the early 90s. We built stuff by having a conversation, either me to one other person or me to many people. Yep. And so we've designed Procore Conversations to mimic the natural behavior that we observed on job sites many, many years ago. And so now instead of sending somebody an email and waiting, now you're going to see a conversation rail on the right of all of our objects that capture what needs to happen with that RFI, what needs to happen with that submittal to capture what's going on in a bid day, you know, in a hard bid day when you're trying to get messages back and forth to everybody to make sure the bids come in. All of that now can be powered by conversations and conversations across companies. Yeah, I think that type of innovation, I think, is going to drive the industry forward.
Well, yeah, I can see that moving itself into what's been a huge complaint. And I think that our field folks have been right, that like we used to get a lot of stuff done on a handshake and you could somewhat trust that handshake. You know, you go back in the day that there's a reason that contractually we had to start writing emails and writing RFIs and submitting those things, et cetera. But the truth is we created friction in that process. But that friction was somewhat required, right? Because contractually at the end, we know litigation happens and people need to sort things out. So this allows us a way to reduce that friction, increase the speed to get decisions made, increase the speed to go forward, but be in line with our contractual obligations, stay in line with it, document it the way we're supposed to. So I think this is where you guys are going to see a lightning change from the field in the users and uptaking it, because it's just such a powerful piece.
The beta of Conversations we kept setting targets like of usage and we just blew right by them, like in the beta. Like every time we would set a goal, then the team would write us back 2 months later and be like, yeah, we beat that by 50%. The usage of messaging to drive construction workflows is just a more natural, organic state that I think a lot of people were used to before. And then a lot of our tech, I think, almost just got away. And, you know, Procore could do this because we have all of these people in the project collaborating already. And so to add this like very natural flowing kind of user experience around Conversations it's very organic, and it makes sense why the usage is through the roof.
Yeah, it does. It really does to me, which you start talking collaboration. We started talking large language models and AI at a particular conference this year, Advancing Preconstruction, which I know we're both passionate and Procore's passionate about preconstruction. So talk to me a little bit, because this is where I want to dig in a little bit.
Yep.
What does that even mean to you guys? And I've said for a while that I think the next 3 to 5 years, and this was about 2 years ago when I started saying it, is the rise of pre-construction. So what does that mean to you guys, and what can people expect to see, coming out at Groundbreak?
Yeah, I mean, so the next big bucket of announcements are around our connected pre-construction solution. Procore started with bidding. We acquired an estimating product that's now fully integrated. We've got a great partner in Compass that we're doing pre-qualification with, and we're looking at other partnerships. And what we're building is we're moving away from point solutions, because what I've observed is when I talk to the head of pre-con or the director of estimating, they're all dealing with like 5, 6, 7 point solutions that don't talk to each other. And we're missing the point. If Jeff, if we really want to round trip the data, we are going to need a solution for pre-con that is interconnected with your budget, that's interconnected with the course of construction, that pulls the pre-con department and the ops department together. And today there's this unnatural handoff I observe happening way too often, where the pre-con department is like hooking it over the fence at the ops department, and the ops department is like, thanks. So the movement the shift we're making is we're really going to just start talking about our holistic pre-construction solution and how we round trip the data. Mm-hmm. Last year at Groundbreak, I made it was a bit of a hand wavy thing, which happens when you're on stage, about like, hey, if you're building a hospital, shouldn't you look at the last 500 hospitals of data? Like, isn't it an interesting data set that you should maybe take a peek at? Because, you're about to go on this journey and we could show it to you. This year at Groundbreak, I'm just going to show that data. And I'm going to show how in Procore, we now can do it. So it's no longer a mystery and like a magical thing that's coming someday. We can just do that. And I'm going to show that at Procore, at Groundbreak. So I think it feels good. It feels good to, like, last year I've kind of painted the flag, and this year be able to show this actually happening. And so we're going to start in the journey at Groundbreak this year with a conceptual estimate of a building. And we're going to show you how in Procore you can look at your data for this new building. You can look at buildings that you have in the past and their full budgets. And then you can look at an anonymized data set of all similar buildings from the Procore data set. And you can compare those three things. You can say, okay, what am I about to go do? What have I done in the past? And what interesting information does Procore have about other buildings that are like this one, in regions that are similar, with the same amount of rooms, that are maybe the same amount of floors? And you can literally swap these data sets out and look at it and figure out like what am I getting into? You can even do things with Procore, like you can look at labor productivity rates from prior buildings that were similar to the one you're about to take on, because we have that data and labor chart. You can click on a button and look at change orders from buildings that are similar to the one you're about to go build. That's an interesting data set. I wonder what changes happened with, what were the RFIs? What were the change orders from other buildings like the one I'm about to take on? So this is the year that we start to fulfill the promise of round tripping the data, and that we show software and show how it can work, instead of just talking about it like a mythical creature that's coming someday. And I think that's the exciting move forward.
Yeah, we're right there with you, because, at Join, that's where we got our start. That's where we had our focus. That's, really still core to what we do. And we are integrated. So we announced this a while back, that Procore and Join are integrated, and we believe very much in what you guys are doing, and we believe in our part of it. And because we believe in being part of an ecosystem, not being a single platform another point solution, a box that creates a hole. And the other thing you hit on there that I think is super critical is we've always in construction had these walls that we chuck things over, and it creates so many problems down the road. Most of those change orders that you're talking about are because a pre-construction department tossed something over the fence to an operations department that had to run with it, not because there's something wrong with either side, but because this is how we do the business. And by the time ops gets to that problem, precon's already on the next problem, right? Because they're 18, 36 months out, depending on the size of the project, and they can't remember what they did or why they did it. We need something that connects all of that either provides that in context to the field for the operations and prevents those RFIs and change orders from happening because we're educated from what's happened in the past, or that they can, or they can even, they don't even have to make the jump, right? If we do this right from a software perspective, like why the decision was made, how we got there, the story, the quantitative, the qualitative, and the story of how we got there is in their hands. They now know why. They can move forward. They don't, and what do we also do all the time? We have a labor shortage. We have a shortage of focus. We solve the same problem 6 times, right? We solve it in an architect's and owner's office, then we solve it in a GC's office, then we solve it with our trades, and then we scrap all that and we try to solve it again in the field. And 9 times out of 10, we actually end up in pretty similar areas. So why don't we just get rid of all that waste? And again, our job here as software is we never can put more bricks in place or put more work in place. But if we can reduce the friction to getting work put in place, then we've done our jobs right. So I'm stoked to really see that.
I can't wait to show you that. We're going to start with the end. So we're going to walk through a project kind of from pre-con through to turnover on stage. And we're going to start with the data from prior projects to inform the new one. And we're going to show people round tripping. Instead of talking about it, we're going to show. And I think a couple other proof points in there. We've started to add a bunch of little connectivity features. So, for example, when you pull a model, we have 3D takeoff that actually is connected to estimating and is connected to bidding. So what I mean by that is you pull a model into Procore out of Revit or something, and you can see the cost estimates next to the model in Procore. And then as you do your estimate, you can see the changes in the model. And then if you go out and do your bid, you can see the difference between the bid and the estimate, and then back to the model, all within Procore. And so it doesn't seem like much, but now if an architect is in that conversation and they need to make a change, they can actually see that we're conditioning the model with actual cost data, and they can understand the change to cost in real time in Procore. So like it's these things where if you just connect the data, it makes a huge difference. Little things like we have what's called a auto bid package. So you literally could be in your estimating, in Procore estimating, and you could click a button and generate the bid package from estimating. Now instead of leaving a tool, going to somewhere else, like recreating a bid package, now you just auto generate that bid package from the estimating tool. And then the same thing when you go to course of construction, instead of it being a handoff, you can click a button and you can send the pre-con package to the ops team so they can collaborate on it and give feedback. And so again, it's for us, we talk about a connected pre-construction solution because we want to make sure that data doesn't get lost and everything stays in a single platform. And that's going to be a big announcement. We're going to show all this connective tissue between the model, between the cost data, between the bid package. Oh, and by the way, if you need a new trade partner, let's say you self-perform the steel on this new building and you realize, gosh, my steel crews are backed up and there's no way they're going to be able to get to this. You just click a link and you open up our Procore Construction Network, and you pull up the page you search for steel in the region, and now you've got this public directory of new steel contractors. They have this little rating on their page that's a rating we're pulling from our partners at Compass. So you know that they are a quality steel producer, and then you add them to the bid package. And
Yep.
you've done this without leaving the environment, and all the data is connected. So I think this is that power of a connected pre-construction solution, from the model to estimating to bidding to pre-qualification, and our Procore construction network of trade partners. And I think being able to show how we do this by bringing up actual working software at Groundbreak is going to get folks really pumped up.
I think that we'll be pumped over this one, and it's always fun to wave your hands and then show it. So I'm excited because I was there when you waved your hands, man. So I'm going to be I will be there and in the front row to watch when you actually show it and dig into it, because we're starting to finally realize a lot of what we've talked about over the last 10 years. The interesting and different thing that we have now, though, is in those 9 of those 10 years, AI was like a big pie in the sky thingamajiggy. And now you can't turn around without AI something or Chat GPT something. And I'm really interested in how, and you and I've had some deep discussions offline about this, but how that's impacting what you guys are doing and what's your kind of focus on it. And are we going to hear anything about it at Groundbreak this year?
Boy, this one I have to be careful because we have a lot to talk about at Groundbreak, and so I don't want to spill 100% of the beans on the show, Jeff.
So
But
what you're saying though is there's some AI here. There might be a little something.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I mean we've invested. So let's just talk about let's demystify AI. It's a little hand wavy. We've made big investments in natural language processing. We've made big investments in predictive analytics. We've made big investments in computer vision. And we've made big investments in the last few months in large language models. Those have come out of nowhere and really forced all of us in technology to rethink. And these aren't magic. These are just types of applied research. I think when we talk about AI and it's not taking anybody's job anytime soon, and it's not a mystical creature. It's just math, and there's math that looks at words and clusters and categorizes them, NLP. And there's math that looks at pictures and videos, computer vision, that helps us identify objects inside of those. And I think these are, and then large language models are fascinating because they look at corpuses of data and they make inference, and they're even wrong often, which is sort of this thing that everybody's so fascinated by. Like, wow, large language model, they actually get it really wrong at times because they're really designed to work on prompts. And so it's the prompts that show the power of large language models. But I think I could sort of I'll give you a few examples of ways that we're going to move the platform significantly. Our investments in computer vision are really starting to pay off. We are going to be able. One big thing we're announcing at Groundbreak is locations AI, and so any object in Procore, we can use computer vision and to figure out like where is it. And so when you understand the location of anything, and then you can plot that, you're saving people a lot of time. Where is it height wise? Where is it map wise? What are the coordinates of the thing, that the observation, whatever it is? We don't need people to type that in anymore. Like, I can, via devices, via pictures, via photos, and via the drawings we have, I can do all that with AI. I can figure out, Procore can figure out where is this located. And when we can figure out where things are located, we can save you a lot of time. Like, Procore, even in the next 12 months, will just know where a thing happens, period, on a job site. And that's a big announcement. We're going to show a demo about some of our locations of AI technology. And there's like a now, next, future. I think I've talked to you about that before. Mm-hmm. In the future, we will construction will get to more automated progress tracking. Like that is coming. It's always hard to predict. Is it in a year or is it in 10? But it is coming, automated progress tracking. And I think the journey to that is one of the big milestones is knowing where things are. Because if you're going to do progress tracking, you have to have a really concrete understanding of the location of all these different objects, observations, photos. And so, yeah, one big use case we're gonna share is around locations. I think it's kind of fun. Another big area that we've been investing in is predictive. We are going to show you at Groundbreak a bunch of ways that Procore is going to nudge and reach out and give you the next best action. So, hey, I'm working on this RFI. Procore will reach out and say, hey, are you ready to turn this into a change event? Click here. And then you click there and we literally auto-generate the change event.
Yeah.
Because Procore can tell by the data that's being entered when something is ready to move to a logical next step.
Yep.
We can tell via NLP. We can tell via a lot of different data. One of my favorite features, I'll give one away just to have fun, that I'm going to talk about on Groundbreak. One of my favorites is we're partnering with Document Crunch. And if you know Doc Crunch, what it does is it uses NLP to look at a contract and summarize and understand what's in a very long contract. And gosh, Jeff, I can't tell you how many times I've been on a job site and I hear the phrase, well, what's it say in the contract? Like, if I got paid $1 for every one of those, right, I could stop. I'll never work again. So what we're doing with Doc Crunch is we are going to give helpful next best action inferences into Procore based on the contract.
Yep.
So one use case I'm going to show on Groundbreak is, hey, there's a rain delay that's created a change event. Like there's a water table now in this area. I'm doing excavation, and this water table wasn't here before, and now it's here, and we have to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And so we can use Document Crunch to reach out right in the moment when you're actually using Procore and say, oh, by the way, contractually, if you have a water event that's longer than 3 days, you need to send an owner notice. How helpful is that? And then, by the way, we use an LLM, large language model, to go, by the way, we generated the owner notice for you. Click here to send the owner notice.
Yep.
Like all in one moment. We just notified you that contractually you have an issue. You need to send an owner notice because of a 3-day delay. And we wrote the owner notice for you. And it might be one of those things where you look at it and you need to change like one sentence or 2 sentences, but owner notices are not rocket science. This is what LLMs are for.
Yeah, it's perfect because to put this in like somebody's day-to-day life, this is what it is. How many of you now actually tell your phones something to set something up for yourself for later, and then it says, oh, would you like me to, if you're using a Google, if you're using any of that's exactly what it's doing. We're just now applying this to a much more technologically advanced, much more specific set of things that needs to happen. And do I know Document Crunch? If you guys are watching on YouTube, which you should be checking us out on YouTube, I certainly do, because they have the best hats in construction, just so you know, in construction tech. And I love the company and I love what they're doing because I love companies that solve real problems. And then I love them when they come together. So this is that real world waste of time and friction that we used to talk about before, because what used to happen was I have a water table, then I'd have to figure something out. What would I really do? I'd probably pick up the phone and call somebody else who knows the information about where the contract is, or they may even get back to me later. And then I might remember to send the notice and I might not. And honestly, like that event happened. So now we have the solution for alerting everybody. And now I have an owner who knows they're going to get informed right away. And that informing about a water table change, nobody caused that, but we got to know the ramifications of it and what's going to happen. Now that owner can decide or get involved in the decisions, or at least understand why we're where we are. They don't walk out of the job site and go, what the heck is happening? Well, they already know this. And these are all things that doesn't replace a human, right? It doesn't replace what they do. It augments and amplifies what they're capable of doing and how fast they're capable of doing it. Which is critical in what we do, man. Like that's again what we're back to what we're here for.
I think it's worth, before moving on, just pausing on this large language model thing. I've been developing our 3-year roadmap for the last few months. And I started, what I do is I talk to our customers about it. I live and breathe our customers. And we literally asked customers, general contractors, trades and owners, and architects. We asked them, how much should we invest in AI? In what ways should we invest in AI? And we gave them examples to kind of riff on. I've been working on this since last fall. Literally last fall, people were like, you should invest a little. Or even I had customers like, you shouldn't worry about that. Like focus on these other features. And then I asked the same question this spring after the advent of large language models. And like every customer is like, you should invest a lot in that. Here are the features that I think are interesting. So, there's these technology trends that happen all the time, like crypto, for example, blockchain. Large language models are not blockchain. They are something much bigger and much more exciting. And I think something we all need to get comfortable with, because the way we prompt these models and the information they're able to get back to us in the world of construction are meaningful and will make us all a lot more efficient. And I think it's I keep telling folks, this is not a blockchain moment where I'm like, yeah, kind of cool. This is a sea change that I think is going to have a meaningful impact. And so I think there's if you think about large language models, there's a couple ways this can manifest, right? One way is you can just highlight recommendations of next best actions to take. So, okay, there's this corpus of data on a project that has specs and it has the contract. A large language model is really, really good at looking at all those documents and giving you a quick summary. Mm-hmm. Something that you personally might have had to pull up 5 different data sources and made 3 phone calls. Mm-hmm. A large language model can look at that corpus of data and give you that summary very, very quickly. That's a great use case. The other thing is large language models are really good at enhanced summarization.
Yep.
So if for example, if you're a super and you're like, hey, I need a summary of the RFIs over the last 3 months and what happened there to update, a large language model can do that for you in about 5 seconds. It literally will write 3-4 paragraphs of all the changes that happened over a time period for you and spit it back to you in moments, And I think when the other thing large language models are really good at is they're good at dealing with intent. So let's say you search for something in Procore search engine, we can give you the result, but then we can also write out the context of all the things that you might want with that result. And so I think which you may not even know you needed. You know what I mean? Because you might be looking to find something, but we can tell you both, here's what you might have wanted to find, and here's the context of the other things in that corpus of data. And so these are just 3 ways that I think this stuff's going to have a meaningful impact to all of us and to these tasks that we used to spend a lot of time on. This stuff's going to help us a lot get work done. I was talking to a big owner who does oil refinery turnovers, and they use Procore to do that. And they were saying, what would be great is, and this is a prototype we whipped up, what would be great is if I got one person leaving a shift and they got to update the next person, there's you just use an LLM and you look at all the activities that person did over that 12-hour period, and you summarize it real quick for them as the handover to the next shift. Again, an LLM can do this stuff in a snap, right? Seconds. And so this is the power of what's going to shift in construction. And just a couple of the ways that we're going to see it manifest. And we're going to support that in Procore.
I think you've given some really, really cool, grounded examples of what these large language models do and why they're so important to know about, understand, and start to leverage, but also why not to be afraid of them. Never once in there did you say it decides to do or it does this. It's recommending, it's summarizing, it's doing what you were going to do faster so that you can get to the decision that needs to be made or the artifact that needs to be created, and then look it over, for detail to make sure it's right. Because they are wrong in cases, right? And also there is things that are wrong in the data. So let's say somebody was doing that work for the day and they're about to hand that over to the next shift. And for whatever reason, they didn't plug something in, right? They didn't record something. They skipped a step. All of a sudden they see it and they go, oh man, I never did that. Okay. In my review, I noticed this was gone. I went back in. Hey, run that again. It's now there. And the true product is handed over with the corrections and the correct information, because it still is garbage in, garbage out, right? If you're not recording those things, taking those steps, utilizing the tools to record those things, there's going to be nothing to hand over. And that's also another one. We talked about this before, and it's something, I'm super focused on when it comes to products in general, is the products themselves need to be enhancing what's done in other places, right? There needs to be a freaking reason. So why would that first shift want to document all those things if it's never getting the second shift and never getting used? There's no reason. But now they know if they do these things throughout their day, that it's fueling all these other things that now are easier. They're the one coming in on shift and getting that. Well, now we're driving the usage of tools to facilitate better work later. And that's just super powerful. Now,
It's
you and I
great.
think it's powerful. You and I could sit here forever on this one.
I know we got to be careful with time. I'll just close by saying that I want to close about the fear part. I mean, at the end of the day, folks, it's math. And so if you dig under the hood of how this stuff works, it's just math. The AI does not have a plan. It has no plan. It doesn't have a motive, and it doesn't have a plan. It's math. And what's scary is I think to all of us, including myself, is the impact it can have to society, right? And that's a bigger topic that I don't really want to go too deep into, but the impact of social networks and recommendations, those are all well documented, and they are having an impact on us as a species, how scary recommendations got, and all this stuff is like, wow, this stuff's magical. It is magic, but it is also just math. And it really there's no plan. That's what I was trying. Like, if you dig under the hood, it's spitting out a formula. It just might be a formula that you've never seen before as a person. And it might freak you out a little because you realize how much your own brain is actually like a lot of formulas. Except we do have a plan, and there is a why behind like what we're trying to do. And the AI doesn't have that. It doesn't have a why.
We have a why, we have a plan, and we have an ethics system, hopefully. So a moral compass of some sorts that guides us, and they just have math. So
yeah.
All right, so we could sit and talk about that one for a while, but I really think you've demystified a lot of it, which I think is awesome. But pre-show, we were talking about where we wanted to finish this, and I'm really excited to hear this, because I really personally hadn't thought about this next step this way. So tell me what, we held this for the finish. What can you talk about as the big finale here?
Look, a big part of our vision is to operate construction projects from pre-con through to payment and turnover. It's very important to us to operate at that level all the way from the beginning to end of construction. And in order to do that really well, we've been investing heavily in financials over the last few years. And construction financials has been a runaway success. It's one of the fastest growing parts of Procore, construction financials. We've designed financials for the field because change happens in the field. and then to connect to the back office. And so if you remember, we did the Level Set acquisition back in 2021 because we already have construction financials. We already have a really well-used invoicing product.
Mhm.
And so what we were missing were the other two legs of the stool, lien waivers and payments. So what we're really excited to announce at Groundbreak this year is Procore Pay, which is the combination of invoicing, lien waivers, and payments. And it's a part of our construction financials arm. And so this will be a huge announcement. We are going GA in select markets. We're not going GA globally yet, but we're really excited about this announcement. We've been working on it for quite a few years. We have a great partner in Goldman Sachs. So that's a keep in mind, Jeff, we move very large dollar amounts because in construction, you might be buying many millions of dollars of a material. There's a lot. So it was very important for us to go out and get a banking partner who could support that type of volume. And that's why we're proud to announce that it's Goldman who's backing these construction wallets. So our first use case is really that general contractor paying subcontractors. And that's the one that's going GA. And boy, is it going to streamline construction. I don't know if you know this, Jeff, but it takes on average 87 days to get somebody paid in construction from the time they finish work, especially in the trades. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that's brutal. And not anymore. If you use Procore Pay, we think we can get it down to weeks instead of months. And in the future, we even believe we can automatically track progress and get people paid progressively. So that's our future bet. But with Procore Pay, I'll give you one example of just a really delightful experience. Today, if I'm a contractor and I'm in concrete and I'm going to get paid, it might be a phone call, it might be an email. There's all kinds of ways I might do it. And then the general contractor, well, you have a lien, like you have to lift the lien, and then that goes back, and there's like a back and forth, and then the owner gets involved. And this is why payments take so long. In the experience we're building, literally the subcontractor logs into Procore and they have a button and it says, sign the lien waiver and the money will move into your account today. And so you click a button and it signs the lien and then the dollars show up in your Procore account, like all automatically. So, from where we are as an industry and checks flying around and liens and physical mail and fax machines to like this like one click experience. And then literally the account number in your Procore account goes from 0 to now this new amount all in one platform, I think is going to really change construction. And I think we're just so excited to release this. It was sort of a natural extension of what we were already doing with it. I mean, we already have a lot of invoicing volume flowing through Procore today. And so to add the compliance aspect of liens and the payment aspect of money movement was a real natural process. So we're announcing that. Got a bunch of customers already in the beta today. And we'll tell you about who they are at Groundbreak. But and we have Goldman Sachs backed wallets.
I mean, this is huge because my background is I came from a trade contractor, right? I came from a masonry contractor that I quickly learned this industry is financed by our trade contractors, right? And you're kidding yourself if you don't realize that price, that financing is making its way all the way back up the chain and elevating the cost of things. And with the cost explosion right now and the cost of money, this brings an opportunity to keep that from going too far and to keep our trade contractors going. I remember back, like, I think it was like 5 years ago, I heard this crazy statistic that 70% of all trade contractors that go bankrupt are profitable at the time they go bankrupt. It's a cash flow problem. And now more than ever, I talk to especially the smaller businesses out there, they are spending whether you got a controller or whether, you're small enough that it's just you're spending 30, 40% of your time just managing that money and watching where that money goes. And you're talking about speeding it up for everybody, because a lot of the reason for the friction is timing and those legal matters that you need to take care of. And so we're catching that up. So it's going to, it can significantly drive down cost. It can easily, move that money faster. So great trade contractors can stay in business, and, you can confidently pay people. There's a little bit to this too, that, this is, you made a good analogy before that I want you to make here on kind of the difference in how the wallet aspect works versus, what we do today.
Yeah, I think I do want to expound on the wallet, but I also want to point out that in a market where labor's tight, the ability to pay people really fast, it will be a competitive advantage. So it's not just, it feels good. It's very heartwarming to know that trades are going to get paid faster, because they will in Procore Pay. But also, there's an expectation. And look, those trades can go to other jobs.
Yep.
And so for general contractors, it is a competitive advantage to be able to say, look, on average, I pay in this amount of time. And if you use Procore Pay, we're going to cut that down. But yeah, I want to expound on the wallet a little bit, because I want to just uncover a little the way we're thinking about this in the future. If you go back to my first comment on the podcast, I believe construction is a network. I think GCs are super nodes in that network. And the way we architected payments is also a network. It's a network of wallets. And so the first use case of that network is we are going to move money between general contractors and trades. But because it's a wallet architecture, like Venmo, so for anyone that's out there, like, I'll get out of tech geek speak and just say, we built it like Venmo. And so what that means is any account on Procore in the future can move money to any other account in a safe, reliable, highly secure way, backed by a bank like Goldman Sachs. So in the future, we can move money between a trade contractor and a material supplier, for example. We could move money between an owner and a general contractor. Again, it's a wallet system, the way all of us think about Venmo. In Venmo, you send money to somebody, and then that money is in their wallet, and they can either take it out of the wallet or they can pay for something else to somebody else. That's the way we designed Procore Pay as well. And I think the first natural step is of course, the biggest pain point, which is that GC to sub payment process. But the future is bright, because we believe we can move money very, very, very quickly between many different parties in construction. And that's such an exciting future. It's one that I think is going to just create a lot of efficiency in the industry and make money movement between folks in the network really, really easy.
Yeah, it's huge. It's frictionless. It's what we're used to personally now, and now it's commercially there. And so I think we understand how it works, and now we can really make it apply to construction and get over some of that. I love the idea of understanding that this is a competitive advantage, that, owners will want to get involved at some point as well, because they want to pay their general contractors, and they want general contractors that pay trade contractors, because again, we're fighting for work, right? And not just fighting to win jobs, we're fighting to fulfill those jobs and deliver those jobs. And, material suppliers, material issues are huge. So again, if you've got a competitive advantage from tip to tail, that everybody's going to get paid, and that we've created a system of checks and balances that's backed by big bank to understand it and that you can trust it. Well, now we got a system that can work, man.
Yeah. It's so exciting.
Now I hope everybody who's listening is excited to go to Groundbreak as I am, because I am now stoked.
Good, because there's so much to announce. I've got another couple cards in my back pocket for the actual show, but just categorically, it's been so fun spending the last year on job sites, out with customers, bringing customers onto campus with us, and going through all this with them and talking about what the value is and how to make their business better. And so I'm confident that this year's Groundbreak is going to be inspiring, and we've got great speakers. I hope I see everybody there.
Yeah, look Wyatt up when you're there. Listen, we didn't even hit this yet, and maybe this will be the final, because I think everything you guys have done is moving this industry forward. And there's a lot of us that are invested in the health of the industry in general. And a lot of that health goes back to software, but a lot of that goes back to mental health as well. And so to kind of wrap it all up, it's been at the core of making people's lives easier, better, and making this business more sustainable. And so the final thing too is there's going to be a lot of announcement, and a lot of focus on Get Construction Talking. Something that I think fits really well with the DNA of Procore. It fits with my DNA. I think it fits with the DNA of a lot of us supporting the growth of this industry and the health of it. So I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Fred Mills is doing is fantastic, and the ability to partner with him and to talk, and to raise awareness around mental health and construction feels just directly tied to that mission that I think TUI set for all of us at Procore around connecting everybody on a global platform. I mean, construction is a hard gig. It's way too easy to just focus on the work and push those problems down, and that's when they come up and they get you, is when you don't talk about them, and when you let that stuff bake. You have to. I think improving awareness and getting folks talking about mental health and construction is one of the most important things we can do, because it's a hard job. It's an unforgiving job. There's deadlines, there's schedules, and it's way too easy to just bury it and get back to work. There's always something to do, right? And I think taking a step back and expressing the challenges and normalizing. God, I feel terrible today. I'm really bummed out. I feel pain. I feel like whatever it is, normalizing that is just so important in this industry.
Yeah. And I've said this from the beginning, like there's no single solution to any of it, right? There's lots of areas that move. We're moving culture of our construction companies and our trade contractors and all those people forward. We're seeing that, and we're seeing that, done. We're also moving the support tools, which are us, the technology tools, are trying to get people out of all of the drudgery and allow you to take a breath and lift your head up and look around at a job site, not just to see that the work is in place, and yes, it is to see that somebody's clipped in safely, but it's also to look you in the eye and give me time to not chase another RFI, not chase another email, not chase another thing, but have a conversation with you. Make sure you're okay, to look at you, to look at each person, to have that time back. And that's what we're all here to do together. It's why I think, that Get Construction Talking is so core to what TUI started years ago, and what, the core team at Procore has done for years. I'm also excited to see the partners that are coming in and supporting it as well. And, to have Fred at the center of it, like I've always said, it's a passion of TUI's, but you need somebody that is that voice, that can be that voice authentically. And he's it. So, I had him on the show a while back, and I've known him for a while. I've known him for a while, and he's just true to it, and we're all drawn to him. And there's something to that he's willing to be vulnerable and be there, and he will be there as well. And so, this is the culmination. I think this is why these events are so big and so cool. And, now I can't wait to see everybody else there.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you there and everyone else. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate getting the opportunity to come on the show and tell you about what we're doing. It's such a humbling industry to work in. When I'm on a job site with a bunch of builders, I'm like, it's such a fundamental part of our entire culture building and of our species. And for me to be able to, in a position to try to innovate in ways that save people time and get them talking about how they feel and get them home to their families sooner is sort of I pinch myself pretty often. And as you know, Jeff, my dad was a general contractor who built cell phone towers, back in the 80s and 90s during that big boom. So I grew up on a job site, and we didn't talk. Just to be frank, it was very like hard nosed outside in the Colorado Rockies, building a cell phone tower in January outside of Breckenridge somewhere. Like 5 layers on, just grinding it out, and I remember that, and to be on the show now, talking about these innovations, talking about we're going to do a Groundbreak. And then, by the way, me getting to call my dad, around Thanksgiving or Christmas and chat with him about what we're doing in the industry. He's retired. He retired quite a few years ago. So yeah, I'm really I'm grateful, and I really appreciate, Jeff, you spending time with me.
I appreciate it. I always love a good preview of what we're doing, but I always really like the connection we get to have. This is true. And hopefully, you haven't given too much away so they don't finally take you away from me next year. I thought maybe they would this year on me, but I slipped it through. So hopefully not. And thanks for the time, man. And thanks for really focusing in and communicating with everybody who listens in. And I look forward to seeing you there. I look forward to more of the nitty gritty announcements. We didn't let them all go. So he didn't even let them all go to me, guys. So I don't even know. I'm excited to get there to hear some of them as well. With that, man, thank you so much for sitting down with me today, Wyatt. It is truly, I get to sit in this position, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to get to talk to folks like you and builders and the people that build the world around us, man. We fundamentally don't get to enjoy our lives without our partners that build all of the world around us. And that's fundamental. So it is a humbling experience to be here and to be a part of what we're all doing.
All right, Jeff. Well, I really appreciate it. And looking forward to see you here in a few weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you in a few weeks. And thank you for tuning in today to geek out for our interview with Wyatt Jenkins. To read all our news stories, learn more about our guests, and to listen to the show, visit thecontechcrew.com. This is the ConTech Crew signing out. Until next time, enjoy the ride and geek out.